Woman! Whoa, man! Whoa, man!
Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Talks with my mum. Another episode where she tries to dictate how it's run
Not
and
true.
when we start.
Come on, get a move on.
You're really pushing my buttons. So, this week's episode, we are going to be talking about like male culture on nights out and how, you know, my mum has maybe perceives how men acted when she used to go out. I mean, she still does. But back in her heyday, back in her younger years.
I'm still in my heyday, chaps.
Come on, Mum. Time to go.
Go where?
The old people's home. They'll look after you now.
Can I just say, we haven't really discussed much about what this chat was going to be about or what route it was going to go down. I might end up hearing some things that I don't really want to hear, but let's see how it goes.
Well, what did you find guys were like when you used to go out then?
They're absolutely fine.
Compared to now? Like, do you think there's a change?
I think that I think that there is a change. I think it's very different now. But I'm not saying that it wasn't the same back then. I mean, if you remember kind of the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, we were in a culture where it was very much more a male-dominated environment.
Yeah.
So I grew up in a household where the men were put on a pedestal, you know, tea on the table, the women stayed at home, didn't go to work, they looked after the kids, etc., etc. So it was very much male-dominated, and so I grew up in that era, but also there was a respect for women. I didn't see men groping women back in the day, but there was less respect for women in the household, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I don't know, you know, I mean, I didn't see it in terms of the lad culture going out groping women and treating them with a little respect back then. But I saw other things.
Well, you all used to slow dance at the end of your nights anyway, didn't you?
Of course we did.
So touching thighs is good, because that's what you want to do in intimate dancing. You want to be touching things.
It was much better, but then am I just looking at it through rose-tinted spectacles? Maybe, because when you reach a certain age, everything was better back in the day.
I could not imagine going out now and then having the bloody pair up. I mean, now there'd be no chance I'd be pairing up with anyone at the end of the night. I wouldn't have put in the bloody groundwork to be pairing up with anyone at the end of the night. I'd be the guy sitting in the corner like, oh, isn't this nice?
I know. Yeah, but there takes, you know...
I'd be writing a poem or something in the back.
I think it takes confidence to, back then, you know, it wasn't easy because bearing in mind, the clubs were only open a Friday and a Saturday night. Everywhere else, through the week, shut down.
When it shut down, that's not me and it shut down.
Usually at kind of 11 o'clock, 10:30, last orders, you were out the bar by 11. And then you would go on to your nightclub of choice, which closed at 2. So if you saw a woman, you know, you kind of would start kind of having a bit of a dance with her, you know, early part of the evening, and then select her to have your smooch with at the end of the night when kind of the 4 or so slow songs came on. And if you didn't make your move then, you would miss your chance, because then it would be another week and then she might not be in that place.
Well, what was the selection process like then? Did that guys come up and give you a little one line like...
I just would ask you, but again, I was never comfortable with that. Because I'm quite, I know it might not seem like it, but I'm quite a shy person when it comes... but I am, but I think that was due to my previous
experience.
So I was never comfortable, but I was always chatty if somebody came and talked to me because I was always very sociable.
Were you just the damsel in distress?
No,
Like,
do you know?
oh, you picked little old me?
I didn't. I would think that people were just wanting to have a chat, not really coming on to me. So
I'm like that. I get into conversations with girls and I'm like, oh, like what do you enjoy what you do? Like, oh, so how, you know, tell me about like what's uni like? How did you choose your bloody uni? Like, how did you get into that course? What do you want to do with your life?
And then
by that point, it's like, for fuck's sake, I've had enough of that.
And then
Bloody hell, you might.
And then do you think, why did I say
And then
that?
when they're gone, I'm like, on reflection, I think she might have been flirting with me, but
No, don't do it. No. No. Don't do it. I'm a virgin.
I have a friend who is great at flirting. She's marvellous, and I think I could never do that. Never. You know.
do you wish you could?
But no, because I just wouldn't be comfortable. It's not me. But I think for men, as long as you're respectful, you know, and you're kind of good-humoured,
Yeah.
you don't start groping around and being overly familiar. I think that does the trick. But there again, I can't speak for all women because some women like the more direct approach.
Yeah, true, very true.
But how do you find girls relate to you? Do you find that are they a bit more forward than you would like? Do they come on to you?
Well, again, like
I mean, they should because, like, look at him. Look at him.
this is now turning to a dating profile featuring my mum, and these are the good qualities he's got, girls.
No.
But no, like I mean, I'm quite comfortable getting into a conversation with anyone and just being like really chatty. But when it comes to the point where it's like, if I kind of think, God, I find her attractive, like then the pressure of me judging myself and not wanting to come across as like an absolute moron, that I then become like, oh, I'm just not gonna get in. Like I put too much pressure on myself, so therefore I tend to not be as like.
Hey, what's up?
Do a handstand.
How you doing? You looking fine.
Relax, and I just kind of probably
Not
steer.
as not as much yourself.
And I think I just steer myself away from like, oh, I'm just not getting any.
Do you know? I think
conversation.
sometimes though, right? I think that there are a lot of men who are shy themselves and not confident, and probably see a woman or a girl and think, oh, you know, I'd love to go and talk to them and just say, you know, you look lovely. Can I buy you a drink? You know, don't have a hidden agenda. I just think that you look really lovely, etc., etc. And you know, speaking as a woman, if somebody did that to me, I'd think, oh, you know, how lovely.
I think as well though, because sometimes, like, don't get me wrong, it is perfectly fine to go out and want to just have like a one night stand, want to kind of just end up in that situation where like.
Is it?
Yeah, well, why isn't it? There's nothing wrong with that.
Well, that's not my thought process. I think.
What, you
for
think
me,
it's wrong?
It's each to their own. It wouldn't be for
But
me.
you've done it once before.
Well, once.
So
but
why did you do it the first time round?
As I said, probably a few too many gins.
Oh my god. She's so drunk.
But
at the
then I realised very quickly it was not for me,
Yeah.
and I didn't do it again.
But then again, like, I think now it's kind of more accepted. Like, go out, like, you know, like sex is just a normal part of life. But I think the kind of like issues of getting to that point are that nobody just wants to bring up the topic of like just being like forefront about it and quite forward and just being like, look, like, you know, I've enjoyed speaking to you, but you know, like if we're gonna kind of like go back, like it's like, you know, it's just gonna be sex. It's not gonna be anything else. There's nothing attached to it.
I don't know.
Because then I think like if you go into it and you just kind of you know, not comfortable of like approaching the subject.
Right, okay then. So have you had a one night stand where
Yeah.
you've gone back to somebody's house?
Here we go, strap in, here we go.
Can I kiss you?
Sure.
And then, I mean, how did somebody you've not, you hadn't previously known, you'd met on a night out, went back to their house, did the deed, woke up the next morning. I mean, how did you feel? Were you embarrassed? Did you think, oh, what was I thinking? Oh, God, look at her, whatever. And how did she react?
Well, it doesn't make me awkward. Like,
Was she awkward?
not really, but I try not to make it awkward though. Like, I think if one person's awkward, then you're
Yeah,
gonna
I
make the other
get that.
person awkward.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like, you've already like had drunken sex, and there's nothing more awkward than trying to navigate your way through that. So,
Can I have a kiss?
No, I don't beard. It's hurt on me. Ouch.
Really?
in the morning, like, it's easier.
Is it?
Yeah, yeah.
Wow, okay.
I mean, what can be awkward is the at the door moment when you're like, right, I'll see you later. Like,
Oh, do I take your number?
Can I get your number? Or like, or do you like, what? I'll call you back. I'll give you a message. Like, that's sometimes a kind of like.
But the thing is, I'm speaking as an old person now, with a son who I want to protect. So for me, it's kind of like you've just got to be so careful because you don't know what the repercussions might be, what the fallout might be. She might not have liked it. She might cry rape in the middle
Well, yeah, but
of
there is
it.
because that's one thing where it's like, you know, the consent's just another issue, because that's again quite a hard topic to approach as a guy anyway, because it's guys who I feel like are being told are the ones who have to kind of think more about consent, where I feel like I'm the person who has to kind of say like, look, like, are you okay with this?
Do I have permission to touch your body?
Yes! But that's what I was going to ask you. So would you say to a girl, are you okay? You know, do you is this what you want?
See, it's strange because sometimes I mean, it's that level of comfort and kind of like not being weeded out by the idea that like you are just kind of like being safe and respectful of like what's about to happen. But I've like found that like you kind of like know whether it's on the cards or if it isn't.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like I would never have ended up in that situation where if I thought she was uncomfortable, that I'd never go ahead with it. But again, you've heard stories where women have been put in the position where they've said, oh well, I just kind of went along with it because I didn't want to feel like it would upset him or make him angry, and I didn't want to kind of get in a confrontation where like it was going to get to that point. So I think that there is like, I feel like, you know, as much as I'm kind of saying, oh, like I tend to think that I kind of know that it's okay, really I'm kind of almost speaking myself into the idea that like I could never really know if it is.
Well, so you can't, because you might think that it's okay, and she doesn't, but then all of a sudden it might be gathering pace, shall we say, and then all of a sudden she decides no.
Yeah.
Do you know, it's just about it's reading the moment. But do you know what? All I think is when you've had a few drinks, drink in, wits out. Very old-fashioned saying, people, but you know, how do you know how you would react if somebody throws you off? And some people wouldn't take no for an answer.
Yeah.
And I can only hope that if that happened to you, that you would.
Mm-hmm. I think it's just a thing where like guys need either we have to kind of create some sort of a culture where we make women comfortable and confident enough to just kind of say, look, like I don't want it to happen, like let's just, you know, stop it there. But then equally, we need to make it comfortable for guys to approach a topic of saying, right, like, are you okay with this happening? Because for me, I like feel like, oh God, I don't want to. It's an uncomfortable thing to bring up because it's a weird thing to kind of open yourself up to the idea of, like, could I be like in the process of like assaulting someone? You know what I mean?
I know,
like
but I think if I were in that situation and a man said to me, "Are you okay with this?
Yeah.
Are you okay if I touch you or whatever?" Then I would think, well, that's respectful, and I would feel safer.
Yeah.
I think just always have your wits about you to ask that question first, and then you know, whatever the female might say, then you just have to respect it, go along with it, respect it. If she says no, then she means no. But it's a difficult one, but for me, I've never been, as an older person who has dated, I've never been in that situation with an older person. I just don't think it's an older.
I think as well that like people can go into, you know, having sex, like, or one night stand or whatever, and be quite selfish in the idea of, oh, like, well, I want to kind of like get my pleasure out of it, and then right, that's it, done, that's all I kind of wanted. And then some people can kind of like forget that it's a bit like of a two-way street.
Do you know?
So like I remember there was this one time where, and again this was like when I first used to start going out, and you just kind of get caught up in this like world of like, oh, like you can come on. Like you just get caught up in this idea of like nights out, meeting women, like, you know, like getting with women, like one night stands, like, you know, this is all going to be fun and exciting, and you become very like absent-minded and very like it's all about you and like what you want from the night out, as opposed to like, well, what does the other person want out of this? And I remember I got in a position where I ended up sleeping with someone in a back alley. I know, I mean, even now it hurts me to say it, but
Were you dragged up?
you would think.
You would think.
You would think. But got myself in that position, and like as soon as everything was over, that was like me done. And I remember kind of feeling quite embarrassed because I was in like one, holy shit, I've just had sex in the back alley. And then just kind of being like, oh, gather my thoughts, and then I just kind of like went off. But it was just kind of like that idea of like, I never took her feelings into consideration. Like we were both in this kind of like awkward like situation together, which at the time you think, oh, this is exciting, this is cool. And then when it's over, you kind of realise, what the hell have we just done here? And I just kind of wanted to kind of get out of that situation. But then I kind of like, on reflection, think now, well, how bad of me that I just kind of went, right, I need to just kind of get away from this because this is like nuts. Like, this is really weird.
But then hopefully that was a lesson learned though.
Yeah, but then again, like, until you enter into a situation like that and kind of realise the feelings and like, you know, moments associated with it, like, that's when you realise, right, you know, not only how did I feel, but then you kind of start to consider, right, how did she feel? But that's only because that's I got myself in that situation. Nobody tells you prior, when you're kind of growing up, you might end up in situations like this, or like you might end up having a one night stand, or you might end up in a situation where you're going to be speaking with a girl and you might have the opportunity to kind of like get a number, or you might end up like kissing her. And, you know, be respectful, think about what, not only what you think and feel at the time, but what might she think and feel, and just be a bit more open to, right,
but
is this okay? What do you
about things like that, about being respectful and not pushing things too far and being careful. I'm now questioning my ability as a parent. I'm feeling a miserable feeling.
Yeah, but how many times do you speak to me and then I just go, right, yeah, sound, whatever.
Always.
I'm not really listening.
No, never.
But I think, but again, I think it's up to like, not just parents, but like other people to kind of be open to that conversation.
Also, this is so it's good to be having this conversation, because if any young guys are listening, then to hopefully take something from it.
Yeah.
That really you should think twice, consider the female, and females should also consider men as well, because again, it's like I said before, there are some women who are worse than men and boys, but you've just got to, it doesn't matter whether you're male or female, you've got to think about your own protection, and the protection of the person that you're with, and yeah, okay, there's no harm in having fun and stuff like that, but being safe in terms of...
Wear a condom.
My name is Johnny Condom, my friends just call me John. I'll protect you from the viruses, so why not try me on?
Yeah. And I know you do, because you leave them lying around the bedroom.
Oh God, you make it sound like I'm leaving them out like breadcrumbs. Like with your hands, yes,
they
another
are
one.
Still in packets,
there we go.
However.
Oh, you've done me there. Why would I be leaving non-opened condoms on the floor? Like, look at what I could be doing, but I'm not actually having sex.
Can we move on from this?
You brought it up.
Conversation. So it's just about being safe and not pushing the boundaries. That's what I would say. So anyway.
On that note.
Stay safe, everyone.